I needed to
I
hear.
nominate this to
Do what? Do what?
Some melody
Oh,
one
God.
time in here.
You want me to do it now?
Well, no, he didn't want to. I think he's got sensitive ears.
I didn't know, she's loud and clear, I promise.
Very clear.
No questions. Before you call her name, go ahead. It's a good connection.
That coffee business, I just don't believe that many people.
Right, we'll go ahead and start. Everybody will stand. Get Mr. Depp leads in prayer.
Father, we come again, thanking you for life, health, strength. We come blessing your name because your name worthy to be blessed. Father, as we come to do what's best for ourselves, we just thank you for what you're going to do. But Father, we do come with heavy hearts. We pray for this United States of America. We pray for what's going on in Russia and Ukraine. And Father, the new one that's on the horizon, we pray for Israel and the Gaza Strip. Father, you know this would happen from the foundation of the world. We ask and we pray right now for peace, and we thank you. Help us, Father, as we go from one good degree to another. We thank you for what you're going to do. We ask you to bless us now. Help us as we make good decisions, that it will be pleasing in your sight, that you will be satisfied. We thank you and we bless you now. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Let allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome everyone to our meeting this Tuesday, October 17th, 2023, at 6 p.m. We have a conference line set up. The number is 1-917-900-1022, access code 32347#. This is not a toll-free number, and you may be subject to long-distance charges according to your long-distance plan. When the chairperson opens the meeting for public comment, please follow the below instructions. If you wish to speak, please dial *5. The moderator will unmute your line when it's your turn to speak and notify you by announcing the last 4 digits of your telephone number. Please announce your name and address, and you will be allowed to speak for 3 minutes. Any person wishing to address the board regarding an agenda item will be given 3 minutes for comment. A commenter may only speak 1 time for each agenda item. With that said, we'll go to number 3, approval of the agenda.
I move.
We got a second to approve our agenda. All in favor? Aye. Moving forward, awards and recognition. The board to consider approval of draft proclamation proclaiming the month of October 2023 as Florida Forest Festival Month, as agendaed by the Pemberton County Administrator. Now we want
Motion to read the proclamation.
a motion and a second to read the proclamation. All in favor? Bishop.
Proclamation, Florida Forest Festival. Whereas October 2023 marks the 68th anniversary of the Florida Forest Festival in Taylor County, Florida, and whereas in 1956 the citizens of Taylor County, Florida decided to stage a countywide pine tree festival as an educational tool to reduce forest fires that were crippling the county's economic base, the timber industry. And whereas over the years the festival grew and accomplished its aim so well that by 1965 Taylor County could boast the lowest fire record in the nation. And whereas in 1965 Taylor County was the top tree producing county in the South, and then Florida Governor Hayden Burns and the Florida Cabinet complained Taylor County the tree capital of the South. And at the urging of Governor Burns, the Pine Tree Festival became the Florida Forest Festival. And whereas the goal of the Florida Forest Festival became and remains that of promoting the benefits of forestry in Florida, and whereas special activities have been planned throughout the month of October to celebrate the occasion of this anniversary, and it is fitting that we should join in the celebration representing more than 50 years of service to the forest industry. Now therefore be it resolved that Taylor County does hereby proclaim the month of October 2023 as Florida Forest Festival Month, passed in regular session the 17th day of October 2023.
Motion to approve.
Motion and a second to approve. All in favor? Aye. Now,
Mr. Chairperson, could we ask Dawn to come to the podium and introduce her special guest?
Before I introduce our guests, I'd like to, on behalf of the Chamber of Commerce, Tourism Development Council, Florida Forest Festival, I want to thank all of you, and especially Wanda, for everything you guys have done to help us get not only the county but the park in shape for us to do the things that the community counts on. So I just wanted to thank you. I know it's taken a lot, and people have been shocked and surprised at how quickly we were able to get things going back to normal. And I'm just very appreciative, and so is my board of directors. With that, one more question. I wanted to see if you guys were ready to, we'd like to do a special dedication for the cook shed that surprisingly did not get damaged by the storm with all the new work we did. We thought maybe next Wednesday, if the board is available around maybe 5 o'clock, we could dedicate that building with the bronze plaque that we purchased and place that up and start off the festival right, because that's when we kick off the opening of the carnival. And so if you guys are available, we can do that. If not, we can do it another time, whatever you guys decide.
Mr. Chair, I'm not available any next week. But y'all can go ahead if you wish to do so.
It's entirely up to you guys. Would you rather do it this week? We could do it this week if you want to.
Say again?
You want to do it this week instead?
I can do it any time except next week.
This week or next? Okay.
This week or the week after for me.
We can wait till after festival, or we can go ahead and do it. It's up to you.
Pardon?
Go ahead. We got Bay Justin Board meeting Thursday at 5:30.
If you want to just let us know.
Give a lot of some dates and we can pass it along.
I didn't mean to throw that on you. It's just a thought, because we didn't get a chance to do it when the hurricane hit and then everything went crazy. So, with that, I'd like to introduce you to our 2023 Florida Forest Festival chairman, Jody Tillman, and she'll introduce our very special guest. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, fellow commissioners, in a year that would have been very easy to say that the festival was too much to do, I'm very proud about, on behalf of my board, that we've got quite a festival planned, and we can't wait for you to experience all that we have planned. I just want to put a little BBTC plug in and tell you that the dead race is going to be worth coming to see. Please attend the dead race. Not that I'm challenging anyone or anything, but it's quite a bit competitive. It is my pleasure to introduce you to the Forest royalty, and so I'd like to take a minute to introduce you to our Forest Festival Queen, Lorelei Brannon. If you want to come on up. We also have in attendance tonight our little king, Kip Horner. And our little queen, Bristol Hatch Williams. Make sure that you can see these beautiful faces. And again, we do invite you to all of the festivals, and I think you're going to be very proud of the festival that the board's presenting to you. And thank you for all your support.
Thank you.
Do y'all want to take a picture?
Oh, you need to take a
Is
picture.
it a proclamation?
You want to come take a picture? Part of the board.
Why don't y'all stand here? And then if
I'm trying to clean it up. We're fine. I'm gonna break the camera.
Alright, now I'm gonna look at these, I'm gonna be greedy and have everyone look at me real quick, so this was for the paper. 3, 2, 1. Alright, and everyone else.
You can see we have parents in the audience. Thank you so much. Wait, I think are you coming for a picture?
Yeah, I got one.
Okay. Did y'all want to have your pictures made? I think they're getting into it.
Move on to, next item, our consent item, to each commissioner have a chance to look over your consent item.
Motion to approve.
Motion and second to approve your consent items, all in favor?
Aye.
11, public request. Local realtors to discuss potential growth for Harris County. Come on, Lex.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Zach Comstock. I'm a local realtor in American Dream. We have several other local realtors in the back that have joined me today. Tonight I'm here as a representative of what we're calling our local real estate action team. I know you've had a lot of action teams these past couple of weeks, so we thought we'd add to it. We're a collaborative effort of several different brokerages in our community. We're all working together on this, on the shared concern that it's going to get a little bit harder to sell some properties with light of everything that's happened. We are going to come and ask you guys' help in some things to rejuvenate our local economy, to ensure the stability of our property values. The challenges we've had, we're really wanting to partner with you guys, as I said. We're already in conversation with several businesses that are interested in coming to the area, some that are new, some that have been wanting to come for some time. We need your guidance on what incentives or attractions you guys can offer. I know the county already has an incentive package, but we are asking if you guys would consider adding some more measures to streamline the process, such as updates to current incentives for businesses, particularly exploring some zoning changes that would facilitate the needs of commercial or residential transactions. Our big thing that we could do, hopefully, is pre-approve a couple of those parcels to be zoned if something so wished to do so. One of the issues that we're coming into is some of our parcels are agriculture only, and we have residential or commercial properties coming in that are not been able to in the past. So if we could kind of open up some of these a little bit, if you guys could work with planning and zoning to move some of those things around and kind of streamline, that would help us be able to attract businesses coming in. We understand that there's a strong partnership between you guys and the public. We're wanting to do anything we can to assist you guys. So please reach out to us if we can foster, like we said, our main goal is to attract any kind of businesses that would come. We look forward to any insight from you guys, and we're striving to make Perry a more attractive place for more businesses to come and hopefully keep everyone here with jobs and stability and keep all of our property values the way they are or better. Thank you guys for your time. We appreciate you. If you have any questions, like I said, all of us realtors are here. We would love to help in any way possible. Again, our big ask is if there's any extra incentives or extra things you guys can do to help kind of push, we'd like to sit down and discuss that. Thank you guys.
Any questions?
All right. Thank you.
Put down the constitutional officers, other governmental units. Jordan Hunt, Forest Area Supervisor, to present the Florida Forest Service Training Report.
Well, I'm not Jordan Hunt yet. I'm Jared Reason, County Forester. And I'm going to do my section first and then introduce Mr. Jordan Hunt, our new supervisor that took over Jack Smith's position. So our county report that we do yearly, minus the landowner assistance program. And this past year, I did 108 assists in Taylor County involving property, approximately 5,000 acres, which included 6 general management plans and agriculture assessment plans as well. They include, also those visits include cost share programs and applications and administrations, fire line and boundary line establishments for landowners. The forest information education section, we did tree planting at the high school, live fire demonstration to several classes to show them stripe fire, how we burn the woods off, and then forestry practice for the FFA contest for the local high school. Stewardship, we currently have 78 Taylor County residents that are landowners enrolled in the program, and it equals 17,000 acres. Some of our programs that the landowners can apply for to get help with funding for planting pines back. One of them is the Southern Pine Beetle Prevention Program. and we had 5 landowners apply for the assistance through that program. The next one is EQIP, and it's a federal program, and we have a memorandum of agreement with the federal government that the county foresters will help administer that program. This year we had 5 EQIP applications that were approved, and they require a needs assessment, tree planting, site prep, herbicide inspections, and so forth on those. The new program that we have is administered by the state is the Carbon Program. This past year it changed its name from Sequestering Carbon and Protecting Florida Land Program to the Florida Future Forest Program, or FFFP. And in Taylor County, we had 8 planting applications and 10 site prep applicants, approved for a total of 18 landowners for helping plant pines. Forest Health, this year, once again, we had a little small pocket, usually around Forest Capitol Hall, of pine sawfly. Doesn't necessarily kill them, but it does make them look bad. Usually it's young longleaf pine that we have an issue with those. Also, I did 28 other forest health inspections relating to pine bark beetles in Taylor County. Urban forestry section, for the 30th consecutive year, the city of Perry earned the Tree City USA designation once again. And then that was my section, and Jordan Hunt, our new forest area supervisor, he's going to take the fire side of it and hang around for any questions.
Thank y'all for having me today. You said I'm Jordan Hunt. I've been with the agency now about 8 years, come over from Mayo. So kind of in a transition here in Taylor County. Been here about 8 months probably, so I'm kind of going off facts that we have on record. It's been a great year working with the county agencies like the fire department, sheriff's office, and emergency management. We responded to 51 fires at 618 acres. We issued 784 authorizations for prescribed fires and 2,011 authorizations for fire fires. They held 32 fire prevention programs throughout the year. Currently, we are fully staffed, and we are happy to say that our firefighters received a very nice pay increase this year that we feel will help employee retention. Although it happened after the fiscal year, we had a very successful response to a hurricane and supported the county's efforts in many ways. At one time, we had 8 chainsaw crews and 123 people from around the state. They worked their roadways, power line right of ways and homes, and helped people out in the county. We did provide a lot of storage from the hangars to help the county out and get the stuff they needed. We still have a very massive amount of water. If you don't have anybody that needs one, please contact us. We'll be out with that. So that's pretty much all I have on my note. Any questions?
I got a couple of questions if I could. Understanding the measure of damage to our timber, do you anticipate a greater option for beetle prevention and the issues that'll come along, say spring?
Yes, I do, and I think I've been talking to Mr. Don Curtis as well about it. We spoke looking at properties. I'm not concerned now, like this fiscal year apart. I'm worried come May when the sap starts rising back up. I've been looking at stuff that's fell down, trying to get an idea of how much. It's not going to be our southern pine beetle, it's the Ilps and Graver beetle. I'm kind of concerned right now because that's the problem we had 5 years after the hurricane in Michael. Wakulla County's been having, it and Ilps, SPB beetle and Ilps has been a bad problem. I think, what was it, Jefferson too?
Yeah, not Jefferson, a little bit in Jefferson, there's Wakulla, Liberty, Gadsden.
Yeah, they've had
around Taylor.
bad problems with it, and I hope that we get our timber in good enough health and rain to get some resilience, or as in like Mr. Don's doing too, is going to landowners and trying to get marketing the wood the best we can to get that solved. But now anything, young timber wise is not going to be an issue. It's all merchantable timber at that point is usually the target that the beetles go after.
Well, it's just the danger of, you're already suffering loss of tons for what's on the ground, but if you have an outbreak of these type insects, you're going to add to those losses.
And there is a threshold or a program that's out there for that, and that's with EFRP, with the federal government. through the Farm Service Agency. And once we start having problems in that area, I'll go out, make documentation of it. And then we have to have so many occurrences, not just one person, but let's say there's 15 landowners having problems with it. They'll open up the program again for reforestation, so we can get people planted back in timber. So there is help out there for that. And then I think on the other end of it, if we do have damaged timber that, I think, what was it, 2.7 million? It was approved by our commissioner to be added to the carbon program.
Yeah, for this year it was.
Yeah. So they're adding to it to increase the threshold of more people, and it's just for this area impacted too, I believe the article said. I may be mistaken, but there is hope for a lot of people here for that.
Something that I guess that may be a bit of a more risk in the short term is given all the fuel on the ground, wildfire threat, and not just that, but the struggles that could be had in trying to contain that, given all those hazards. And I'm going on, what happened in West Florida and those kinds of.
So last Sunday morning, we had 150 acre wildfire on Fish Creek at 4:30 in the morning. Took 9 pieces of equipment to get around it. I finally got it.
And that's not in the San Pedro Bay area.
It's not. That's
areas that are difficult to get around it.
So that kind of gives us an idea of what we got to take.
I'd say being proactive and putting fire lines in most people's property probably is the best course of action for that.
That's right.
That's what we've done at Michael and went through it. It's not cleaning up the whole stand to try to prevent the fire. It's putting an access around it that we can get into it, so you're not having to take 6 pieces of like huge D9 bulldozers and try to push it all just to get one tractor through. So that may be the course to doing it. Seems to work very well out in Michael.
We do have a lot of people calling and requesting to put the pre-suppression lines in. They're seeing they need it and making that effort. It's something that they're really taking into consideration.
Thank you.
Thank you.
General business. The board consider request to name Gary Norma Holden as Citizens of the Year, attended by Commissioner Pam Baker.
Yes, I think we all know Gary and Norma, and there are many, many contributions to the community, especially in Shady Grove. They have been volunteer firefighters for 30-something years, and they have kept that volunteer fire station going. They have, and I said this before, they have got up in the middle of the night and let the dinner table to go and fire the fire, or when there's an accident, they go to that too. And I know Norma was talking one time about going to an accident, and a really bad one, and little children were involved, and the mother didn't make it, and so she was telling the story about holding one of the babies at the scene. That's the kind of people they are. And then with the hurricane, I can't tell you how much they contributed to the community. They put together all these food giveaways, and they were there 24/7 to help people. They're always willing to lend a helping hand. So I just thought that it would be fitting to give them a little something in thanks for their work and their time. And so I would like for us to recognize them as Citizens of the Year. Now, I did not ask them to come tonight because first I wanted to see if this was going to be approved. And if it is, then I would like that we present them with a plaque at the next regular meeting, which will be November the 5th. And I'm in no way trying to start an every year Citizens of the Year award, but in this case, and if there are other people that have helped them to the magnitude that they have, then certainly that would be appropriate. But I can't think of any two people who's done more or as much as Gary and Norma Holden. So that's my request, that we name them Citizens of the Year and present them with a plaque at the next regular meeting on November the 5th.
Mr. Chairman, if I could, I would like to speak to the request, and I wouldn't take away a thing from their service or all the volunteer hours and nothing. The questions that I got about this agenda item was the consideration of other folks throughout the county that have, according to the folks that spoke to me, given a volunteer. So I'm respectful of the efforts that the Holdens have put forth. Wouldn't dare to take away from any of those things, but the questions that, came to me were, what about the consideration of other folks? And not just in light of the storm response and the recovery, but in years past and things of that magnitude. So it's not to try to take away from any of our volunteers. But the questions did come forth about the consideration of other potential recipients.
So what are you saying?
I'm saying at this time with the process, I wouldn't be able to support moving forward with that nomination, given the conversations that we had.
So are you saying maybe do I don't disagree. I mean, both sides. I know these folks, they do a lot throughout the year in different circumstances, and I know there's plenty of other folks that do a lot throughout the year. You saying to maybe do more than a couple of folks?
I think at least the consideration. I don't have the methodology. It just came before me in the consideration. So I'll go on the record to say each of these folks that do all this volunteer work have my respect and deepest gratitude. So I'm not trying to get into a competition or take away or one up anybody because I do see those sacrifices, and I know it's leaving the table to go in dire situations. So that's just what came to me.
So, Mr. Chair, I think that it would be, I don't even know a word for this, but, we haven't done this before. That's not any reason why we can't. Certainly, there are other people that have volunteered. And I'm sorry that Mr. Newman perhaps didn't think of this first for somebody in his district. And I'm sure if he had, he would have presented it, hopefully. But I just think that there is absolutely nothing wrong to honor these people that have given so much. And we're only talking about recognition and a small plaque. If there comes another time where there's people that have given up selflessly of their time, then certainly we can honor them too. So I don't see any reason not to go ahead and do this.
Yeah, I don't think it's a matter of who thought of what first. I mean, I think we're beyond that, but and I don't have a problem, making this recognition. I mean, they're the folks, they do a lot, like I said, during different circumstances throughout the year. If I had to guess, Commissioner Newman was probably leading on to just the message it's probably gonna send throughout the public.
And that could be, I don't know.
I mean,
I have my own opinion, so.
The message being
I
sent
appreciate
would be more of the message it's gonna send throughout the public of, well, I did this, why wouldn't you recognize me? So, anyway, I don't have a problem with it, so.
From what I can understand, they've been great help in Shady Grove for years. I don't have a problem. It's a small thing to say. It's a small thing to do. If we'd done that for more of our people, we wouldn't have some of the problems that we have. It even might take to somebody to come and do more. So I don't know Mr. Holden, and I don't know Ms. Norman, but from what I've seen in this group, and they come and present themselves, they present themselves well. If it costs the county $50, $75 per plaque and an appreciation, do it. You can't wait till they're dead to do it. They wouldn't, you might well care, take the part to a funeral. So, I second your motion if you want that.
Okay, thank you. My motion is to go ahead with that. discussion, I would like to say that you made a very good point, that if we recognize more of our citizens, it might prompt more people to get more involved, that, you know, that they get just a little bit of recognition.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion and a second, we're ready to vote, we'll go ahead and vote. We have a motion by Commissioner Fegel and a second by Commissioner Dent, all in favor?
Aye.
That'd be no. All right. Moving on, county staff items, the board to consider approval of submission of local funding initiative request for fiscal year 2024-2025, agendaed by Melanie Cox, the grant writer. Melanie?
Hey, everybody.
Hello.
Can you,
Yeah, we hear you
can
loud.
you hear me okay?
Loud and clear.
Okay. Okay, last board meeting, the decision was made on what you would like to submit for your budget appropriations request. I have submitted to you the Senate request, and I'm currently finishing up the House request, but they will be the same amount and same scope of work. Your first item was the speed, and I'm not naming them off in order of how you rank them, because you don't rank them on the forms that you submit. The Steenhatchee Fire Station in the amount of $1 million. Shady Grove Fire Rescue Station in the amount of $1 million. Keaton Beach Fire Rescue Station in the amount of $2 million. Southside Park Phase 2 is $124,830. And we also submitted the FERDAP grant on that. Taylor County Enforcement Arena, $200,000. We also submitted the FERDAP grant on that. Taylor County Public Safety Complex, $20 million. Taylor County Courthouse Generator Project, $366,620. Taylor County Agriculture and Expo Center, which is your covering on the arena, $1 million. Taylor County Public Works Generator, $21,000. So we're requesting your approval to get those submitted.
Mr. Chair, and LaWanda, I would like to see us, you know, if we can add anything else to this. I've been trying to think through, you know, the community, what else could we add? I think that this is our year, y'all. I think that if anything is, if we're gonna get anything, this is gonna be a year to get it. So, we really don't need to hold back on asking.
I mean, I don't disagree. I mean, like I said, the first year or so I was in this board, and we're asking for just, you know, a few million dollars, and all these other counties asking for $30, $40, $50 million. I mean, if we got something else to add, then I mean, I would not even just this year, add it every year.
But I just think this year may be our year.
Are we, Melanie, are we too late to add anything else at this point, or, I mean, it's.
Melody, do you recall, is the deadline November 1st?
Yes.
Okay. I mean, we may not be able to bring it back to the board for you to look at the forms, but if there's something else we need to hurry up and get moving on it.
Well, I guess since there's a workshop next week, I won't be here, but, I guess you could, if you had more, could you add a special meeting to it? And Kenneth, can you think of anything else that we could use, whether it's recreation-wise or business-wise or whatever?
The only thing I would caution you is that, and I heard her say that she had submitted, or she's working on an appropriation for Southside and somewhere else, but also submitted that under FERDAP. If it's anything like the road programs, when you submit for an appropriation, it's competitive with the funding source for the road programs. You don't want to, just because you perceive it as greater probability of getting something awarded, you don't want to cut off your nose to spite your face if you're submitting under two different avenues. But other than that, I feel sorry for her if you start adding stuff, because that list was pretty long, and it's October 17th, and November 1st is really quick. That's a lot of work.
Well, maybe.
I don't
we
disagree
can
with your
add-
position. I do think this is probably the best light we're gonna be in, but that's a lot of work for her.
Well, maybe we could add it to the legislative appropriations.
Well, and Kenneth, the reason that we submit the appropriation request is because it helps support the FERDAP grant. So whether it's, typically any funding comes through FERDAP. It's not competitive with each other. So that's almost feels redundant, but our expectation is that we would receive a FERDAP award for those two projects.
It just sounded very similar, and I know that DOT will approach us behind the scenes and say, please don't do that, because when things are allocated through legislative appropriations, it removes from their funding.
It's not the same with this, but only the FERDAP grants, from what I understand.
And Kenneth is correct. FDOT specifically asked us, like on our transportation alternative grant, they do not want us to submit them as a budget appropriation request because it actually takes away from their money. And that's why I did not recommend that we submit our applications that we submitted on that. But Kenneth is correct. FDOT does not want us to submit appropriation requests on their project.
Sidewalks
Where
are...
in turn, FDP prefers that we do submit them if we submitted a FERDAP grant because that helps them get their legislative funding.
Two things, Ms. Fiegel. Sidewalks are great amenities for the communities. Like she says, the transportation programs, they're doing pretty good as far as funding those through federal resources. Possibly you may want to look at the Keaton Beach boat ramp at some point in the near future to maybe do some improvements and upgrades to that. The parking area, the dock facilities, a lot of that could be new pilings through there. So you've done it at Steinhatchee, Dark Island, Keaton Beach. Those could reuse or could use some attention in the near future.
And just so y'all know, we were very careful on our timelines we did on these because you have to turn in a timeline on when you anticipate them to be completed. So we were very cautious on that, knowing what we have the capabilities to complete. We spaced out the fire station project because, the fact is we can't construct 3 all at once. So we were very cautious so that we were turning in valid appropriation requests and that we had the information we needed. We obtained quotes so that we made sure that we were accurate on these. I actually have in mind a budget request for next year already in mind, which is air handlers at the courthouse, because we, through the courthouse grant that we're working on right now, we found those air handlers will have to be replaced, and you're looking at about a $500,000 project, but we don't have sufficient information at this time to where I feel comfortable turning in a really good budget request. So I already have a project in mind next year. I just want to make sure we have that accurate information that we need to turn in a good request.
Okay. So go ahead, Mr. Bowles.
About 3384 Slaughter Road, I kind of racked my brain myself. I don't know if it's already in the county budget or not, but I know Ms. Hamby came by about 6 months ago about the bathrooms at the library, the ADA compliant, and that's probably not going to be cheap. I wasn't sure that was in there.
On that, I think that's, I think it's in the budget, yeah.
Because we had their libraries open still last Saturday, which was well attended. Quite a bit of money. But the rest everyone was, hey, this is an ADA. Yeah.
We already have a priority order.
And While that is not requested on the application itself, it is something that I am typically asked. And Melody, if I'm not mistaken, on the Senate side, they normally ask me for a ranking of these projects. So I would be more comfortable if the board could tell me your priorities, and then that way, if there's a question, one project over the other, at least I have the direction from the board of what are your top priorities.
I thought we were right at least 2 different times already.
I believe at the last meeting, you ranked your top 4, and that was Kentucky Fire Rescue, Shady Grove Fire Rescue, Peak Beach Fire Rescue, and the new public safety complex. That was in my notes, that's the order that you ranked in the last meeting.
I believe it was the public safety projects that received priority.
We had put priority on that other meeting.
So, all right, so we just need a motion to submit.
We need to move that Taylor County Public Safety Complex up to number 4.
Well, I think this was not really in any particular order. I believe she's got the order that they were in. But it's, this here is just to, I think, just to approve, so that can be submitted.
Correct.
All right.
A motion to approve, do we have a second? Second, all in favor? Very good.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Melanie. We'll move to 15. The board to consider approval of request to advertise the Stampede Railroad sheet pile wall project request for proposals to address roadways subsidence related to sinkhole activity. Presented by Mr. Kenneth Dudley.
So if you recall back around September of last year, we noticed that, or it was noticed that there was an area of subsidence, just a little bit east of here, just past the cemetery, on Green Street. And we tried to go down there and figure out what was going on. The guardrail itself had actually kind of depressed and translated away from the roadway, and there was probably a 20 to 30 foot section of the road that showed a little bit of a conical type depression. It's not surprising, within just yards of there's a very prominent karst feature or a sinkhole. And there's another one that's a little bit east of there. So we consulted with DOT, and given that they have a little bit more experience, and you'll see on some of the roads where there'll be a big steel plate in the middle of the road, and they go through and do geotechnical investigation, try to figure out what's going on below the surface, so then you can figure out how to fix it. We followed that same path. We did a geotechnical investigation in the roadway and along the shoulders to try to find out, was there some obvious opening underneath the layer, underneath the roadway. What we found was there was, right in the most prominent depth of the subsidence, there were loose soils for probably 5 to 6 feet, but then almost unilaterally across all the borings, around about 20 feet down, 16 to 20 feet down, you would hit a noticeably hard layer, which was an underlying lime rock layer. That loose area obviously didn't just happen. It would have been just like the rest of the borings and extremely well compacted. So the thought is that there is some means of an opening below ground that allowed some of that material to move. And then, of course, given more room, that dirt will spread out and through there. So they gave us some suggestions on some of the more prominent contractors in the community that are in this area that have dealt with this kind of stuff. Luckily, one of our consulting engineering firms actually had them listed as a subcontractor. That made things a little bit easier. So we did issue a task order, had you guys approve it, for the design of remediation for this. What you have before you is the design that was thought to be the most cost-effective and the most effective. So what we are intending to do is to, if you can envision it, is create a curtain along parallel with that roadway that will prevent any more of that transported material from moving into and towards that sinkhole. Basically encapsulate it and keep it under the road where we want it. We are not just doing the area that you see the stress at, or the distress at right now. We're actually going to do 200 linear feet of it, which will help safeguard the balance of that section of road, given the close proximity of the other sinkhole, which is just a little bit further east. You see a cost estimate in there of just under $500,000. These things are not cheap by any means. It is a pretty intensive construction effort for this. It's not just digging it out, putting some dirt and laying it back. It's pretty. This is a very prominent construction job relative to some of the ones that we've done in the past. The bid specs have been put together. I am asking for your approval to advertise these. The bids would come back on December 1st, and then we would have you guys open them on December 4th. Obviously, that is your last effort to make a decision relative to moving forward with the project based on potential funding availability and potential costs for the project. So right now, the fiscal year is kind of closing out. You have, of course, 0308, which is your secondary road paving cost centers. There's common count plus there's 5 districts, so you could unilaterally say, let's work on the district monies and then we'll move towards common, or vice versa, or any combination thereof. Just check those balances and understand that we're talking probably $500,000 potential costs. So it's up to you. The road hasn't materially changed in the last several months. So you have the options that I gave you in the recommendation is, one, move forward with it for the remediation, approve the advertising of this bid spec. We'll go out and we'll get bids back and we'll move forward towards correcting that area. Or 2, you can continue to monitor that area and see if the subsidence worsens, and if it does at that point in time, these plans won't sour. They'll be on the shelf, so you can do something later. And then the third one, of course, is if there is some other wisdom out there that we have overlooked, we are welcome to receive that in whatever's in the best interest of the county. So you see, it's all your choice.
I'll make a motion to monitor the area in an effort to observe these funds given the situation at hand.
I'll second the motion.
Discussion. I watched that road. The depression got deeper and deeper. And the citizens were calling, they're concerned about that. And we have a problem. So I would like to see us, is there any state money, any money that we can get from anywhere other than us funding this?
One, and it just kicked into my mind for some reason, is I just wonder, it's not associated with an event such as, Mother Nature type hurricane or anything, but I wonder if the hazardous mitigation grant program would see this as a hardening effort, if that's anywhere within the realm of eligibility. I don't know. I know that they typically provide monies not for correcting what was damaged, but the preventative measures to keep it from happening. So we could reconstruct the road, and that's much less of this cost, but then the hardening of that would be installing sheet pile through there to prevent that from happening again. Beyond that, you might could use it as, or look at it as a scout type project and put it competitive, but you're still talking 5 years from now, just to get on the work program. I'm not suggesting that sit back and monitor it is the wisest decision.
No.
Personally, if we know that the issue is there and we have the means and wherewithal to address it, it's smart to do it. But obviously, that is one possibility. If the board considers that to be the most reasonable, then, that's up to you guys.
Well, it causes a lot of concern. We know there's a sinkhole there. We know what's happened. I know how rapidly that happened. Now, maybe it's leveled off some now, but what's to say it's not gonna cave in while a car is passing over in the future? I just think it's a public safety issue. I think we need to be very careful with dismissing that and doing nothing except watching it until you watch it till it falls in, and that's right by the Spring Hill Cemetery, Commissioner.
Yeah, I know it's that.
So that might be irresponsible. to
On
just-
98 right now, they've got several sheets of metal on 98 in the run for the road.
Say that again?
On 98 going west, there's several sheets of metal fastened in the road right now on potentially places that's dipping out on 98.
Yeah, and I will say that the reason that they do that is to kind of let it finish, and while they have time to figure out what's going on. We have gone since September. We've waited roughly a year now. So we don't anticipate that it doesn't appear that it's going to have that catastrophic collapse, but when you're dealing with potential sinkholes and karst formations, it's anybody's guess. I mean, Taylor County is riddled with superficial limestone that has openings. You typically have a clay plug that hydrates, and then when it dehydrates, it removes, and the overlying soil can go right through it. It can be catastrophic, absolutely. Do not perceive that me including that in a recommendation as a possible way to address this as being lessening what I think is important to do. So I'm not dismissing it at all with including that as a recommendation. The recommendations that are in there are ranked in my preference of priority as 1, 2, 3. And the first one is to address it and fix it. So if that's thought to be possible, I suggest that you do that. Obviously, I will put it in writing. If it is financially unfeasible, then you're literally suggesting that that ought to be a Friday afternoon type of thing, and there'd be some frame of reference. We measure against a benchmark, and we monitor it to make sure it doesn't move. That's monitoring, not just let John Q. Public tell us, hey, it seems like it's getting worse.
Yeah, well, I don't know, I just, now that we're aware of what's going on there, we've been told that your first recommendation is to fix it.
Certainly.
So,
You don't think the sheet of metal would give you some time to do some studying it a little further?
Typically, the sheets of metal that I'm familiar with, and I'm going based off my memory when we did the pipeline project, because we had subsidence on that one as well when they went to ramming under Puckett Road. I want to say they were like 8 by 20s or something like that. That was the maximum span. We can easily exceed that in this area. So your depression itself, if you go crack to crack, is easily past that. There is still a concrete barrier wall or gravity wall that's there. It is cracked through its entirety. So it has not only went down, but it's went out a little. If you look at it lengthwise, parallel to the road, you can easily see it in the guardrail to where it was here and it has shifted, a full width of it. Will it fall tomorrow? Probably not. Will it fall sometime? Hopefully not. So it's a gamble. I'd rather not take that type of gamble if we're talking about a roadway that is a major collector in our community. So you have my recommendations, 1, 2, 3. Pick which one you like.
I do know that there's potholes and granddad's cabins under people's houses right in the city.
Yes, sir.
And you're talking about $500,000 they pump. I thought loads of concrete being pumped on the house, you know.
Pressure grouting can get expensive. Yes,
Yeah. Now, that sink been out there for years and very little money was spent on that road. Something happening, it's about like a human life. Eventually something gonna happen. And if we can sit here and not know it, we can know something going on, we don't do nothing about it. Now, I'm not a favor of letting watch everything. We got to start doing something to some of this. Now, you know, if we do this about a road, we're doing it for buildings. We're doing it for roads in different communities. This can go right through the neighborhood going as the main artery. I don't think we need to push it that far back. If it takes 5 years for it to come forward, to come to pass, put it on a plan and let's do it. It needs to be put on a plan.
Mr. Chairperson, just to make sure we understand, Kenneth, are we in agreement that we can anticipate the common account to be at about $1 million once all the adjustments are made?
Yeah, and I pulled up the balance just from last fiscal year, and it's like $1.1 million. There's a couple $100,000 in District 4. They're all really close around 240 for each of those. So, you know, if it's considered that way, you could easily take, you know, $100,000 if you wanted to out of the 5 and pay for this. You know, took $100,000 out of each of the 5. And if it's anything beyond that, you know, take it out of the common account.
Okay. I don't care, you know, me having $150,000 or $200,000 in money in Section 5 or District 5.
Yes, sir.
I'm willing to let it go to that. Somebody who might ride along there one night and a car wound up in a ditch. Or somebody wound up dead.
Yes, sir.
And I'm okay if everybody will give 100,000, I'll give 100 and that'll take care of it. And then we don't have to worry about watching it and if something happens. We know that we've made it safe for the public. There are a lot of people that go down that road each and every day.
Yes, ma'am.
So, now, how about some of the money that we got during COVID? Do we have, that's all?
Well, now, so that was all put into the general fund, so it's no longer separated, so that's in our general fund reserves. And just as a reminder now, that was reduced by $3 million to cover, you know, potential hurricane expenses.
Okay, so best case scenario is everybody give up 100,000 and let's fix it.
Well, and one of the issues that we have there is potential scrappings. It's got roadways that may be short of funding that's coming up. So the reservation and the reason for my motion is, so we're less than 20 days into a new budget, and we're you know running through this scenario, and that's all the more justification in my mind to monitor this area roadway, because I am aware that there are those projects coming up that may be short of funding, and so there's a great hesitation on my part to make a commitment for one area roadway versus knowing that these projects are upcoming.
True, and it is not uncommon when I usually come up and talk to you guys when we have differences between available funds and cost of projects to make a request that we supplement that with the common account, depending on what type of roadway it is. When you're discussing collectors that benefit much more than just that immediate location, they're more community-based. I typically will go straight to the common account because I think it's more of a community project than just, a county project versus just a typical community project. But if you recall too, if you're familiar with the way paving policy works, let's say if we were to have a project that was in, say, District 5, what we would do if we should wind up with a shortfall, if we stay true to the letter, I would say to them, so we're going to exhaust your funds, and then we will appeal to the board to take the balance of that out of the common account. So if you are thinking that if a project in District 3 that is coming up that may have concerns with respect to available monies relative to the cost of the project. I don't know that it necessarily puts you in any worse of a situation. If anything, it probably puts you in a better situation if the board were to unilaterally say, we're going to go ahead and share the burden of this and each donate or allocate $100,000 from each of the 5 districts, and then we'll make up whatever difference we have out of the, that we need out of the common account. That puts that puts District 3 necessarily in a $400,000 better position when it comes to capacity for this.
But wouldn't we have the understanding that if we had already committed and really put these funds toward this type project, those aren't any longer available? So what I'm saying is,
I didn't understand what you said.
Once we make this commitment, or if we were to agree to this scenario, those funds are committed.
They're encumbered, correct.
And so understanding that in the young stages of this budget and not knowing what the other demands are going to be on this budget is quite a consideration from my perspective. What I'm saying is, it is true every year, but every year we haven't had Georgia Pacific having the issues that they're having, or the possible issues that are looming largely. So what I'm saying is, to me, it's more responsible to monitor this road. That's why I made this motion. See if those funds are available through this other source before we just move forward in this commitment. How long would it take to find out if those options are there?
The only one that I could tell you for certainty would be like scratch off is going to be a 5-year time frame. The HNGP funds, I can reach out to see if that's a possibility also. My guess is that it wouldn't necessarily be this funding cycle, but probably more likely would be next year's funding cycle.
And then would it be if we was approved, then would it be a 5-year deal, or is it?
I doubt it, but you gotta remember, when I called it an HNGP, that is for the hardening expense, so you're still gonna bear some of this cost, which would be for the restoration of it. It wouldn't be for, you could allocate the sheet pile wall for the hardening aspect of it, but the balance of repairing and reconstructing the road to put it back like it was would be a cost that we would have to absorb locally. So yes, you'll be able to shed some of the cost, but you're not gonna be able to get rid of it. I've made my recommendation. I think it is wise and prudent to try to pursue this now and to remediate that road. I'll leave it at that. That's my recommendation.
Mr. Chair.
We should maybe look at this and monitor for this year and potentially look at maybe budgeting for this the following year.
Budgeting how?
I don't know, like Newman said, dealing with I don't know how things are gonna look with the closure of this bill, but just seeing what other funding sources that we can.
Yes, I understood, but, and I wish Danielle was here and maybe Luanda can reaffirm this, but, these dollars are for infrastructure. So it has limited applicability to you can't unilaterally use it on any type of expense. This is the type of cost that these dollars are earmarked for.
And I don't know that the mill closure will affect our fuel tax revenue. Right, Gary?
Less trucks running and all those kind of things.
It's based on the number of gallons.
I think it will.
I wouldn't know how to forecast that, so.
I can't give you a number, and I'd hope to be wrong with a number, to be honest with you. I hope the number would be much less.
I understand,
But what I say is, I'm already familiar with shutdowns. And so I have no reason to think that those revenues are not going to be negatively impacted. And so, Commissioner, I can amend my motion if it be for this year and, evaluate that during budget time, if that would help anybody, if you're okay with that second, Mr. Tim. That's fine with me, but at this point, I think
It is necessary to see about that potential. I'm not trying to say that it's a project to try to put into a 5-year plan. I'm not saying that at all. But I do think at this point, we're gonna see more expenses come this way, and I'm gonna stick with my motion.
I would only suggest that I see a definite distinction between remediating a safety-related aspect versus resurfacing a road to make it smoother. So I think those are two distinct cost differences.
Mr. Chairperson, Kenneth, would you consider this a infrastructure or capital expense or repair and maintenance? Is this a repair or?
I think it is remediation of infrastructure. So I don't know how to separate the two.
So, Mr. Clerk, my only question is if 1 cent sales tax dollars could be utilized for this type of project. I mean, I know we utilized 1 cent sales tax dollars for public works capital purchases. I don't know if, I don't want to try to fit a square peg into a round hole, but do we need to consider that as a possible funding source?
Yeah, we can,
we can look at it.
Because it says capital outlay, it can be used for capital outlay, right? Capital projects, or I don't remember how exactly the ordinance is worded, but
most every time we do a road project, or at least when Tammy was there, she typically tried to capitalize it as an asset.
Yeah.
A road project, and then depreciated that.
Yeah, we do. We do.
So I wouldn't see this as any
different. Yeah. I don't think we can make that commitment right now, but we can look at it as potential funds.
That would maybe give us some time to reach out to state emergency management to see if this could be considered a mitigation project, or just to make sure that we cover our bases as far as looking at different funding costs. And I understand our 1 cent sales tax dollars are precious to us as well. Just to try to look at different avenues.
Yeah, well, in the past, we have worked together on issues like this, and we've been willing before, when things like this came up, to help one another, and before, we've all given part of our road paving money to help another district. And I hate it district because it's community. And there's been times when, just like with Slaughter Road, that we took it out of the, we didn't take it out of the common account. We took it out of the other 50%. So we've done it both ways before.
Gas plant.
Yeah. So, but the thing is, like you said, it's a public safety, and I would hate for us to wait and then someone goes out and takes their part of their money and does something in their district that's not a safety issue, and then there's no money then for sure to give to something like this that has a public safety question involved. So I hope that you commissioners will think about this in terms of public safety, not that we're going to save money for maybe a project that comes along that may need some extra money, because we've always got the other account we can take it out of.
Well, and you, as well as you all well know, I typically go hand in hand and beg from DOT anytime we have bid prices that come in beyond the allocated budgets. It's not that I wouldn't do the same thing. It tends to be a little more palatable now if you put a little skin in the game and offer, we're going to share with you on this. Let's just use, hypothetical numbers. Let's say we're $700,000 shy. The board has agreed to put in $100,000 of that if DOT can come up with the balance of that. That's how we've characterized some of the last ones. They've done it 2 different occasions for us. It seems to be a little more receptive to them if they perceive you guys as thinking, well, the project's important enough for us to pay for it, is it important enough to you to pay some of it?
Right.
So I do it that way. I don't have, fortunately, as much concern relative to project shortfalls when we have market-driven prices that come in on the bids, and they've approved our project plans as being reasonable. So we kind of use that as our leverage to get them to assist with helping to fund the shortfalls. There's no reason I'm going to change today, simply going forward, because the next one that comes in, I'm going to do the same thing. So
What would it cost to put a plate on it?
It'd just be to try to find a plate, and borrow that for a set amount of time.
Yeah, I saw them putting one on 98 the other day. They put it down, they put anchors in it in several places. And then, there are several of them there on 98. They're doing it for a reason. They're just biding the time, I imagine, to get their funding right straight through.
Usually they will do it to buy time to do the geotechnical borings and then set up the pressure grouting. That's usually what's happening. I haven't seen them get to the full extent that they're talking about skipping funding cycles just to be able to find the funds.
But you've done the drilling on this out here. You got all information to say that there is a hollow spot under there.
There's a loose spot under there that.
How many times have you patched it once it started dipping down?
We patched it just the once. We put cold mix in there to try to bring it back up to a consistent level.
Right.
I haven't pulled a string across it in quite some time, but.
Right.
So this that you're talking about is not a fix.
It's a safety item to hold it, see if it's going to, so we can afford it.
That we've already done those testing, though.
Yeah, done the testing, but, the plate would keep it from falling in, what I'm saying, and we could wait and see if we had the money.
You're saying minimize the risk with the plate.
Give us some time to look for other options.
And just not make a hasty decision to spend money that we have.
But we all give 100,000, we don't have to take any money out of any account.
And I wouldn't say it's, no disrespect, of course, but I wouldn't say it's necessarily a hasty decision to fix this. We have been looking at it for quite some time to try to figure out not only what's going on, but the best way to resolve that issue. You have that in front of you. So possibly, if we were to perceive that maybe the equal sharing across the 5 districts was a backup scenario, you're going to advertise this for over a month now, going forward. It won't take that long to investigate the possibility of HMGP funding being eligible or not. We can do that before we actually send it to the paper. Anything beyond that is going to be several years away with respect to finding a funding source. If the board is comfortable waiting years before we address this, that's your prerogative. Otherwise, I would say let's move forward and use this funding if we have to, but maximize other sources that we can try to put our hands on between now and when this would come back.
I didn't mean a hasty decision from you, I'm just meaning a hasty decision across this board. And just looking for, potentially, if we didn't move on this tonight, then maybe we can discuss it maybe even in the next month to see if there's other options. I mean, I don't even know if that would even change anything at this point.
I think he's talking money. He's talking money, not design.
Yeah, but I mean, Luanda, are there other options that money's gonna fall out of the sky or something?
Well, not that immediately comes to mind. I think we've brought up, the only options that really come to mind immediately.
They don't come up with nothing else.
I mean, I'll just say that I was talking to Danielle today, and I know that, we are in that transition from one budget to another, so some of the stuff is projections. And I know she told me she did have to move $140,000 to fund the road department from, one of the secondary road payments. So I don't know if that's gonna affect the numbers too, once we kind of get that finalized. I know that's not gonna mess with the what's in those common accounts, but, I mean, in the, district accounts. But,
And that's why I took the end of year versus the current year, so that it wasn't just a budget that I turned in. This is, actual available balance at the end of the fiscal year, so if she removed $100 whatever into road department, that would still be $1 million in that common account. And then still the 250 or money in each of the other 5 accounts. Plus you have 60 grand sitting in there, and some striping.
I think
We've all got plenty of money. 100,000 wouldn't hurt any of us to give it up to make sure that our road is safe.
Why don't we do this? I withdraw my second. Let's go ahead and do it, and if we run out of money, we run out of money in the end of the funding later on. Let's go ahead and fix the thing, be done with it, and, I mean, if we're gonna run out of money, it'll be down the road, but I see hard times coming down the road, and if we run out, we're gonna have to split money up again amongst all of us to solve issues. But being it is a safety idea, somebody could get hurt there. We probably need to go ahead and do it.
Mr. Chair, I'm gonna make a motion then that we, go ahead and that we, fix the road as suggested by our engineer.
This is, I'm only requesting approval to advertise.
To advertise for,
To repair the road.
yeah.
Yes, sir.
just from a procedural thing, 'cause I know Commissioner Moody withdrew his second, but I don't know if there's another second out there before we finish up and move on to the next one.
Yeah, we have still, Commissioner Moody did run on his second, and we do still have a motion there on the table, so do we have another second to the motion at hand?
I second.
I'm talking to the original.
Oh, yeah.
That's the monitor.
That's the monitor.
Oh, all right. Go ahead.
Okay. So, if there's not another second, then the original motion that dies for lack of support, so, do we have another motion on the table?
And our motion is to go ahead and advertise for proposals.
And I'll second that motion, but when the rubber hits the road, I want us to stick together with our money, just like we're gonna do on this. We don't want, I mean, I want it to be that way. I don't want to just say, I haven't quite got it.
Neither here nor there, but I know one of these paving projects, they come to District 1, and they was gonna get new early on in my tenure here. And there wasn't anybody willing to help. And I believe it was Slaughter Road. There wasn't none of the other 4 commissioners. They want me to use my district funds for a paving project to help out, but anyway, neither here nor there, so. But if
That might have went over my head. I never refused.
If this is the direction we're going, then, hey, let's move on.
Amen.
So, anyway, we got a motion and a second, so we'll go for a vote. All in favor? Aye.
Thank you, guys. I will touch base with the HNGP program tomorrow. Hopefully we'll keep our fingers crossed.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. County attorney, seeking county attorney to present employment agreement for county administrator.
Yes, I'm up.
Mr. Bishop?
Yes, yeah, a couple things that, I know you've all got it in your packet. On page 4, there needs to be a correction on, C above, on the very top, it says, nothing in this agreement shall prevent, limit, or otherwise interfere with the right of the employee to resign at any time. His position should be her position, or its position. I think, I'd rather say her. So we changed that part. We talked about that, but somehow it got passed. Also, the salary on page 5 provides for an increase to $105,080 payable bi-weekly. And at the end of each year, the employee will be entitled to the same raise as the other employees of the board. She has refused that before. but leaving it up to her if there is a raise, which, and that's a little bit of a change. And the next thing would be at the very, page 7, the annual performance review. The only thing we'd like to be able to determine is said review to be done on blank of each year. In other words, what you want at the end of the year, or the end of the fiscal year, or whatever time that each one of y'all would do your review. It has to be, at the same time, I would think.
What about the anniversary of her employment?
That's consistent with our employment agreement, and I believe the previous agreements were November.
That's up to y'all. That's a good idea. If you want to just say that, the anniversary would be November.
That works.
Probably November the 15th, I believe.
I agree there.
Okay. Okay, so, I'll leave it up to, if y'all pass this, I'll leave it up to LaWanda to get with Karen to fix it.
I have a
But if you
question.
gotta pass it first.
Now, is the salary the same thing as the constitutional officers?
No, ma'am.
What's the difference?
I don't know what the constitutional, I know the constitutional officers probably make more than that.
Yeah, so I don't remember that, I don't have the new rate right off the top of my head, but the lowest constitutional officers, which they're all the same except for the sheriff is higher, it's like 120, it's over 120 a year for
What is
constitutional
your
officers.
salary?
It's over 120, I don't know the exact number. It just went up in October. So last year, I think it was 115 or 16, and this year I think it's like 120 something, so.
It's set by the legislature.
Yeah.
Yes, right. Like ours.
Yeah.
So, is there any questions? Were you done?
Yes, sir.
I got one question though, so if they do pass it, it would be after her current contract expires, or would it be effective tonight?
Well, our current contract expires.
November or something, I think. I don't even have the date, but it's November, I wanna say.
It's ready to
21st.
expire right away, I know that, that's why we're doing it.
Motion to approve.
All right, we have a motion to approve the county administrator's contract. We have a second. A second, all in favor? Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving along. Mr. Turner,
County attorney to discuss FS 125.35, sale and lease of real property.
If you all recall, we had a lady from Steve actually come in wanting to buy a piece of property from the county. And I think that subparagraph 2, if you'll look at the bottom of page 1 of 2, I'm going to read, I think this what covers this. Let me just read it and I'll tell you what I think. The Board of County Commissioners finds that a parcel of real property is of insufficient size and shape to be issued a building permit for any type of development. Remember, we did that when we had all that other construction on the property, or when the Board of County Commissioners finds that the value of a parcel of real property is $15,000 or less, as determined by a fee appraiser designated by the board, or as determined by the county property appraisers, and when due to the size, shape, location, and value of the property, it's determined by the board that the parcel is of use only to one or more adjacent property owners, the board may effect a private sale of the parcel. The board may, after sending notice of its intended action to owners of adjacent property by certified mail, effect a sale and conveyance of the property at private sale without receiving bids. So I understand it, and I've been told that she's the adjacent owner of the property. So she wants to purchase it, then she'd be on notice for sure, if you understand what I'm saying. I think one thing, if y'all decide y'all want to investigate this, you would need to ask our county property appraiser, what's the fair market value of that small piece of property, and also I would say that, it would need to be if we don't have one, there would need to be a legal description done of that. And my suggestion, of course, would be the person who wanted to buy it would fund that.
The survey and the legal description,
Yeah.
correct?
Right. In other words, there'd be no money expended by the board for the county to effectuate this sale.
What was the size of that again? I can't remember the size of that piece.
20-foot strip is what she said that night.
Oh.
And she owns on both sides of it, I
She on
believe.
both sides,
That's
right?
what she said, yeah.
I'm in favor to go down the path to.
Is there any, I am too, but before I say yes, is there any possible use that the county could ever use that?
I think our first step would be to reach out to the county departments and make sure that there's not a use for that property. That's what the exercise we went through, for the Keaton Beach properties. And then, we could ask make sure that she's the only property owner on each side, do our due diligence, and then, so Conrad, are you saying that she would submit a survey before the board?
Well, first thing you need to do would be, if you agree to consider this, everything contingent on what's best pursuant to the statute. That's why I read the whole statute. In other words, first thing, you find that the parcel of real property is insufficient size and shape to issue a building permit.
Right.
That's obvious, don't you think? I think that's obvious. For any type of development to be constructed on the property, or it says, or when the Board of County Commissioners finds that the value of the parcel of real property is $15,000 or less. So, number one, you can't build on it probably, but say you could. Then you go and say, or if the value is $15,000 or less, then you go to the county property appraiser and say, look, we've got this little tiny piece of property. Is it worth, what's it worth? Okay, what's the fair market value of it? Then, once you find that, and it's determined by the county property appraiser, and when, due to the shape, location, and value of the parcel, is determined by the board, the parcel is of use only to one or more days, well, she's the adjacent owner. Then you say to her, okay, we need to describe our reach and bounds if the board's going to give her a deed for that, and and what she's willing to pay, and y'all determine whether, in fact, you're willing to accept that. Does that make sense?
What do you think, Commissioner?
She's adjacent landowner, it's a 20-foot strip, there's no other use, I don't think it's going to waterways or anything of that magnitude. I don't see any reason why we would stand in the way. Then she's the adjacent owner, it's not going to impact somebody else.
So you need a motion contingent on following the provisions of the statute. You understand what I'm saying?
My only question
So
is.
you only got one question?
Well.
You got one question. I love that term. I've only got one question. And I'll answer that and get another. It's 7:30. Come on. I'm teasing you.
So do we ask for, in this type of situation, do we ask for the adjacent property owner to submit an actual bid on the property, and then once the board decides, yes, we will consider selling, then ask her to move forward with the survey, or she invests in the survey first?
Here's what you do. Here's what you do. I thought I said this.
You may have. I need you to say it.
Okay. What I'm saying is this. The first thing you need to find out, it's obvious, again, I don't think you need to research it. You're not going to be able to build on this 20-foot strip on land. You're just not going to be able to do that. Okay, that's number one. All right, you can ask Danny.
Yes.
Okay. Then secondly, so you wouldn't issue a building permit. Then you need to find out, is the property worth less than $15,000? So you got this, you got this strip, just call them on the telephone and say, can you tell me that it's worth less than $15,000? Okay. Then what you do, and then I think due to the size, the shape, location, and value, the board would determine that the parcel could be sold because she is in fact the only adjacent owner. So then once you've done all that, then you say, well, Ms. Rhoda, you need to, if you're really serious about purchasing this, you need to go ahead and get a survey done.
Okay.
Okay, all right? And of course, and also, as always, you know, it's up to her if she wants if she wants to get title insurance. That's not up to us, it's up to her, because we're just gonna, if she decides if she wants to pay, and it's a private sale, and she would say, you know, you don't have to bid with a private sale, because there are no adjacent landowners, you don't have to do this with certified mail. So what you do is you say, and she says, I will give the board this, and the board can say, no, we want a little bit more than that, or whatever, and you come to an agreement, and then you've got the sale.
Thank you.
And if you have any other questions, call.
I would think before she goes into.
You ask them tonight.
Sir?
You can't ask those tonight.
I'm done on these questions tonight, unless y'all tell me to answer
Before
one.
she spends money on a survey, we should get the prices down first and her agree to.
That was my question, so I need to I would come back to the board and ask the board formally, you know, here are the facts, do you wish to sell this property? Then I would send her a letter and ask her to submit an offer. And then once we have that, I'll bring that back to the board and you can say yes or no. And then she would invest in a survey and we would get the legal description and move forward with the sale.
Well, I think you're gonna come up with we probably need to tell her what we would sell it for, because if you go ask for an offer, I'm gonna send you back $100.
Well, if you recall, previously, the board, we had an actual appraisal done, which gave us the market value. And the board in previous sales had said this would be our minimum, but then you did not receive any bids for that amount. So then we you know, put it out to bid again.
So once again, the statute provides for you not to have to do an appraisal just yet. Our own county appraiser to tell it what it's worth.
And I can bring that back.
You can take her value.
15,000, I mean, you laid out the process.
You can take her value of her property, what she pays taxes on, get square footage of that, and divide it into how many feet it is, and take that 20-foot strip, how many square feet in it, and that'll give you the figure that her property's worth, and that would be a fair way to do it.
Do we have a direction?
Yes.
So we have
I think I can just bring this all back to the board for an actual approval.
So we need a motion to direct, go forward with it. Motion?
Second.
Motion and a second to move forward with,
Prospective sale.
Yes. All in favor?
That's why I have to read this statute every time before we get into something like that. You just have to read it because it meanders. So,
well, you make big bucks, Mr. Bishop.
yeah. Well, I do.
We know, right?
I appreciate it.
18, county administrator discusses informational items.
I would like to thank the board for your support. Thank you. My first informational item is just a reminder that on October 23rd is the legislative delegation meeting at 10:30.
That's Monday.
That's Monday at 10:30. And we will have our list of projects ready by then for you to discuss with our legislators. Also, I did wish to give you an update on cemetery debris removal. There have been a few developments since our last meeting. We did find that upon further review, that if we use some of our county public works, if we use a public works crew, we can actually receive reimbursement. And so in a matter of time, we have started on some of the cemeteries to go ahead and do what we can. And this is to save time and try to save some money. And then our debris management contractor is going to tackle the cemeteries who have the most significant damage, and those are Shiloh and Spring Hill. Possibly we may need some help with some of the much larger trees in Pisgah. I believe there's one tree of Waters that we're going to need help with if our equipment does not reach. But as of today, Poor Spot Cemetery, Sealy, Stanaland, and Cabbage Grove they're all complete. So we were trying to move forward on it, and once we realized we can receive reimbursement for our forced labor account and our equipment use, we really just wanted to get those cemeteries cleaned up as quickly as possible. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Comments and concerns from the public for non-agenda items?
One thing I'd like to make a comment on first is you get these speakers in here where you can hear.
You will state your name and address.
Joe Wilson, 3312 Cash Road. All right, to get back to what I first said, y'all need to do something about this. I didn't hear a thing.
Yeah.
I heard Jim say something about metal on 98 and just go ahead and do it until the money runs out and runs out. That's it. I mean, I don't.
That's all you heard.
Pardon?
That's all you heard.
But, what I'm here for is, I talked to Thomas and Jamie and Jim Saturday. I went to town sometimes that morning, I don't know, 9 o'clock, so, but I thought my eyes were playing tricks on me just before I got to the Puckett Road. But when I got up there, they weren't playing tricks. They were unloading building materials and all other kind of junk. I think I sent, did you get the pictures?
Yeah, and I looked down it, yeah.
And yours, I think I sent it to you too, but anyway, I stopped, they had a flag in there, and I stopped and I said, what are y'all doing? They were unloading right side of the Puckett Road. I mean, the House Road. And, he said, we don't have any place to put it. I said, what do you mean you don't have any place to put it? He said, the dump's full. I said, full? Yeah. I said, well, why are y'all unloading it here? He said, well, we got to have the trailer and we can't afford to leave it full. We need it. So I looked in the rearview mirror and I was talking to the flagman. Looked in the rearview mirror and I saw a vehicle coming, so I didn't want to hold him up. So I went on to town, did what I needed to do, come back in about an hour. So when I pulled up behind the trailer, I got out on the phone and I took some pictures. Well, the guy come up and he said, what are you doing? I said, I'm taking pictures. He said, what are you taking pictures for? I said, because I'm going to show this to the county commissioner and see if they can't do something about it. I said, there's no need to go pick up trash and then haul it back and put it back outside the road. Just no need for that. And I mean, you probably could have got it in this building. Well, about that time, another fellow come up. I don't know who he was. I think he seemed like he might have been in charge or something. But he said, what are you doing? I told him, I said, I'm taking pictures. I said, I told this guy here, I'm taking pictures. I'm going to let the county commissioner see this because there's no need to fill a trailer full, pick it up in one spot, fill a trailer full, and come back and unload it side of the road. I said, why did y'all unload it here? He said, well, there was already stuff here. I said, wait a minute, bud. I said, there was 2 mattresses, a box spring, and some other little box there. I said, so don't tell me there was much there. You can put everything in the back of my truck, haul it off. Well, what I could, and then he told me, he said, the dump's closed, gates locked. I said, my Lord. And I don't understand why they were closed. See, I don't know if the first person told me they didn't have no place to dump it, they were full, if that was the reason it was closed, or if it was because the gates were locked. The second guy told me the gates were locked. I don't know that. I'm just going by what he said. But it don't make sense to do that. I mean, picking up from one place, putting it in another place, right side of the road. Now, it was gone this morning. It wasn't well, I don't know about yesterday afternoon, but, 4 o'clock, but it was gone. It was gone this morning when I went to town. And they did a good job cleaning it up when they did it. So, did you check on that? Was the gates locked, or what was it?
Well, I don't know that.
I can answer that if it's okay. So my understanding is that it wasn't our dump that was closed. It was the landfill that was closed.
They told me Greenville.
Right, so it wasn't a county dump site, right?
Yeah.
And my understanding is that, of course, this project is under DOT, not the county. So DOT is paying for our debris removal, and they are in charge of this effort. But when I reached out to the supervisor on Saturday, he said that he was aware that did happen. They just needed temporary storage. They would go back and pick it up. And I asked him about any potential, double charging or anything like that. And he said they get paid by the cubic yard. So no matter how many times they handle it, they get a certain amount per cubic yard.
Well, my point is, why was it closed?
That's not our.
Yeah, I know, well, Jamie, I think he told me he was on the board.
Well, I do sit on that landfill board, but she's talking about the DOT controls the handling of all this debris pickup thing.
Yeah, I thought you told me Saturday they had that worked out where it would be open.
No, not where it would be open Saturday.
But anyway, and another one of my concerns is all of this, the building materials and stuff like that, and all of these nails that's out and all that stuff. My wife's already had to have her, or I did, change to get a tire fixed for her. I've heard several people telling me the same thing. And I heard one told me this morning that they had already had a couple, I believe it was, two head flats. But anyway, and when all this stuff is picked up and scattered, and then when the county or some of the people that mow in front of their house where this stuff is at, guess where those nails are going? And I don't know if there's a good way to do it or not, but maybe one of the ways could be that maybe y'all could get with these other counties like South Florida, somewhere down there, and ask them how they handle that issue, because it's going to get worse than what it is. I know we're in a unique situation, but anything, it won't be 100%, but any little thing can help. That try to curb as much of it as you can. But I don't know anything to do other than just try to see if you can get a hold of somebody that might could give you some input on how they handle it. Might be something that'd be beneficial. I don't know that, but I know when I saw them piling that trash up alongside my house road out there the other day, I about come unglued because it was a mess. And one more thing, out there on the house road, I live just off the house road onto the cash road, but I don't know who picked it up, but it's some construction debris, wood, plywood, stuff that come off of a building that's blown down. And apparently, whoever picked it up, when they picked it up, they didn't pick it all up. They probably left a pickup truckload, maybe a little more, just scattered all over the place. Right there in front of Miss Cosette Drigger's house. Yeah. Or not in front of it, but right there by it. It just looks like they went in and picked up that big pile and then just left everything there. And that's been there for over a week.
They'll go back for it, sir. My understanding is that if their equipment, say if they have like a grapple that they'll pick it up what they can with that, and then they'll come behind with smaller equipment to pick up the smaller pieces.
We'll see. I'll keep watching. But anyway, I appreciate it.
Okay, sir.
But let me ask you this, Wanda, is he was talking about if the 3 people is working 7 days a week and the landfill is closed when they go with, building material and whatnot. Is it too much to ask them to remain open? It's more than Taylor County hauling stuff to that landfill.
Well, no, sure, but remember that only the C and D most likely is going to the landfill.
Yeah.
They have debris management sites for the vegetative debris. But I can call them tomorrow and see. I heard that they had closed because of the mud bog, but I don't know what the connection is.
Yeah, I know the pile that Mr. Wilson was talking about, it did look like a lot of C and D.
Otherwise, it would have gone to what they call the DMS.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Did you hear that, Mr. Wilson?
I didn't hear you.
So, Mr. Wilson, all that goes to the landfill, I think, is construction debris. So, vegetative debris, there are sites inside Taylor County that are open 7 days a week. So, I think it's only because it was construction debris that it was stored in the right-of-way.
Well, all I know is whenever they put it out on the out road.
Yeah. All right. More information on Mr. Green?
I think you got.
Okay,
Oh,
now-
sorry.
You got some,
We got one more.
Hello. Good evening, and I appreciate the opportunity to share some information with you. My name is Brian Beard. I'm a public affairs specialist for the Small Business Administration, Office of Disaster Recovery and Resilience. And trying to spread the word to everyone about what's available. And I did already meet with Wanda and Jim Lauk at Emergency Management and Don Perez at the Chamber. But I wanted to share with all of you so you can share with your constituents. We work alongside FEMA, and for any damages that anyone has to their home, personal property, business, or a nonprofit that's not covered by insurance, you can get a low interest, long-term loan from the SBA to cover that damage. The loans are free for the first year. There's no interest or payments for 1 year. Once you get to the 1 year point, then it's only 2.5% for homeowners and renters for most of them. And you're very well off, you might have to pay double that. For business interest rates, 4% for most businesses, unless it's a Winn-Dixie or large corporation or something. And for nonprofits, it's 2.375%. And the term can be up to 30 years, so it can be a relatively low payment monthly, so that people can have a chance to recover. And like I said, I spoke with someone in Perry already who said that they'd recently gone to their bank to try to get money to cover the balance of what's not covered by the insurance company, and we're happy to learn that they could get a much less expensive option. So we want to make sure everyone is aware that we have these loans available. It's up to $25,000. There's no collateral requirement. And there's no cost to apply, no closing costs, no prepayment penalties. So we encourage people to apply now, decide later. If you're not sure what your insurance company is going to cover, you could go ahead and apply for it and even get the first installment of a loan so you can begin to repair your damage or have working capital for a business that's suffering. And then once the insurance money comes in, then that could cover part of the loan. But again, and anything that's not covered by insurance, it's a very reasonable rate. The deadline just got extended to November 29th to apply for the loans or to register with FEMA. It was normally starts with a 60-day window, but because of the extended damage and because they just added some more counties recently, Charlotte and Hillsborough just got added last week. So they extended the deadline for another 30 days.
That was November what?
November 29th is now the deadline for physical damage. For economic injury, if a business had a drop in sales due to the hurricane, even if they didn't have any physical damage, they could get an economic injury loan for working capital to cover their monthly expenses until their business gets up and running again. And because of the business owners don't know how long they might be affected, the window for those 9 months, so the deadline's not until May 31st. and I can send to all of you, or Luanda can forward to you, or some of those details, as well as some highlight bullet points to convince people why they should consider this loan. Because it's a lot better than ending up using your credit card or going to the bank or something. Even if, you know, the insurance is covering most of it, you can use the loan for a deductible. And also you can add 20% of the total damage onto that to use for mitigation, to have a stronger roof, stronger shingles, with retaining wall, something like that, to prevent future damage. And, you know, as I said, you can apply before you get your insurance, and decide later whether you need it. If you get an offer, you get 2 months to decide, you can easily decline it with no penalty. You can get up to $500,000 for your home, up to $100,000 for personal property for homeowners and renters, and businesses can get up to $2 million combined for both physical damage or economic injury.
Is that a nonprofit?
A nonprofit can also get up to $2 million based on the amount of damage and the ability to repay.
$2 million now?
$2 million is the maximum for businesses and nonprofits, based on, you know, amount of damage and assess and the ability to repay. As you probably know, that we do have a disaster recovery center with people from FEMA and the SBA at the Steinhatchee Community Center. It's open 7 days a week from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. And also, you know, share with you all the other locations in case people don't want to, might be where they're going, might be more convenient to go to another county. So we also have them in Mayo, Jasper, and Madison, just to name a few, that people can go to. It doesn't matter which county they're in, they can go to get assistance.
Are those all 7 days a week?
Pardon?
Are all of those 7 days a week?
Not all of them are 7 days a week. The counties that aren't quite as affected, a couple of them are closed on Sundays.
But they're open 7 days in Taylor County.
Yeah, in Taylor County, the one at the Steinhatchee Community Center is open 7 days a week.
Baseball complex, the complex?
It's at the community center. Let's see. Here it is. 1013 Riverside South Drive. The community center is 7 days. Yeah, Columbia 7 days. Hamilton County 7 days. Madison County 7 days. Jefferson and Lafayette are closed on Sundays, but the rest of them are.
Do you have any idea how much longer, or if that may be extended as far as how long you guys may be in those locations? I'm sure that's demand based, but I mean, when would be the next consideration for an extension?
Well, for the extension for the deadline, that only happens if it's requested by the governor's office. So neither FEMA nor SBA can extend the deadline without a request from the governor. So, yeah, that extension did happen. Just based on comparison, under Ian, there was only a 5-week extension.
I see.
And in that case, you know, there were a lot of people that really could have used more time.
Right.
I know a lot of people, after 5 months, they were still fighting with their insurance companies. And once they learned how much they were going to get and how much appreciation there was on the roof, et cetera, they learned that they were much short of what they needed, and by that time it was too late to apply. And so that's why we try to push, apply now and decide later. If you get the loan offer, you have 2 months to decide whether you want it or not. So you can go ahead and apply, and there's no cost to apply, no penalty for declining the loan offer. So to keep options open, we encourage people to, go ahead.
It's a 60-day option to decide on the loan.
And actually, if you let it ride, then that 60 days expires and you don't have another chance. But if you decline the loan offer within the 2 months, you have another 4 months to change your mind. So if somebody waited 7 weeks and declined it, then they could still come back and decide they want it again. So they try to make it flexible so people can, have on that option. But like I said, I've been, talking with emergency management and with Wanda and with Chamber of Commerce, and we're going to be collaborating with SBDC too, and try to see about, doing workshop for business owners to let them know about all the disaster loan options, but also some, services from the Small Business Development Council that helps businesses year round, which is, kind of an affiliate of SBA. And then also want to talk to our reporter here too, and see if we can get some press too, to maximize all the evidence of outreach to make sure everyone knows what's available. But as far as the timing for the disaster recovery centers, as the demand goes down, they're going to start cutting back the hours depending on, how many people are visiting. Over time, we'll start cutting back the hours, but because Taylor County was, the hardest hit with the Ida storm, and you guys first, I assume that the disaster recovery center at Steenhatchee will be there for a while. We usually have, they might start to close down the ones that weren't as affected, such as, Lafayette or Columbia or something, but I assume that yours will be open. I can't stay for certain, quoting, but I would think Taylor would be open, till the deadline, the physical damage deadline.
I have a question. I talked to a lady, her insurance company's giving her a run around and shit, and they're not giving her enough money to fix her house. If she applied for the SBA loan to fix her house, and then they did come through, how would that money be situated?
Yeah, you can go, you don't have to wait for your insurance settlement, you can go ahead and apply, and we encourage people to apply now and decide later. They would, because, we do not cover anything that is covered by insurance, so they would end up signing something saying that once that money from the insurance comes in, it would cover the cost of the loan, directly, the money, enough to cover the cost of the loan would, go directly to that first, and then whatever else.
It would go toward the SBA loan first.
Yeah, if they get a loan and we're not sure how much money is coming in from insurance, then they would sign something that's saying that, if the insurance money is not enough to cover everything, then whatever is left over, the SBA would still cover, but anything, the amount not covered by insurance would still be of course, but anything that is covered by insurance, we're not going to duplicate, so that portion would be repaid to SBA.
Okay.
And you get the first $25,000 is without collateral, so you can just get a $25,000 loan, and that's, gets processed a little quicker, and start rebuilding before you hear from the insurance company. And so you don't have to wait as long, because that's what happened with Ian. A lot of people waited 5 or 6 months.
How long has it been taking people to get that first payment of their money?
If they get all the information in, with their application, and sometimes, they're requested to provide more tax returns from a couple of previous years, whatever, just to show the ability to repay, et cetera. Once all the documentation is in, we try to get things processed in, around 3 weeks, but when there's a big disaster such as this, sometimes it does take longer than that. So I can't guarantee, but usually, they try to, I've talked to some people at our disaster recovery center that does the processing and saying that they've had some people that have gotten their disbursement, but that's come in and sign the final papers within 2 or 3 weeks.
And in her situation, the roof was messed up, and the longer it's unfixed, the more damage she's gonna have,
And I recommend anybody that, if the insurance company's not covering what it's gonna cost, in some cases, the insurance policy says that it's depreciation, so if the roof is halfway through its life expectancy, then they're only gonna replace half the value. But if you have a full replacement value, then they should get an independent estimate and appeal to that insurance company. You can appeal with FEMA, appeal with SBA to see, say this is how much it's actually going to cost, and fight with them. And if they're really low volume, you have an option of appealing to the state insurance commission. Mr. Bishop probably knows a little more about that than I do. But
You raised a couple of questions real quick because time is going real fast, but you piqued my interest when you said tax returns. So there are people that make too much money that are that can't get these loans, correct? You make too much money. You're looking at your tax return. And then the other question, sir, while you're looking that up, for instance, where the person has a real high deductible, unfortunately, and it costs less than the deductible to put on a new roof, then is that person eligible to get a loan on that?
Yes.
You are?
You can get a loan to cover the deductible, and even add to that, if you had an $8,000 deductible.
I don't know that you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, if the amount of damage is less than the deductible, then the insurance is gonna send you a denial letter saying,
Yeah,
we're not
okay.
covering this amount of damage. You send that denial letter to SBA, and that shows that your damage is not covered.
Yeah, but once
And-
again, you'd have to qualify with respect to your income.
Yeah, you have to have enough income to be able to repay the loan, show ability to repay. But, and you mentioned the possibility of people that are very well off, and I can, share with you on our fact sheet, we have, and I said most people will be able to get a loan for 2.5% for the home or 4% for business. Those, large business that has deep pockets, they would pay double that at 8%. And a homeowner that could easily get a line of credit from the bank, they would pay 5%.
Okay.
Just either 2.5 or 5%.
I understand. Thank you.
Yep.
You did good. Answer your question.
I have a question.
Yes.
So if someone got this loan and they decided that they wanted to pay it off early, I don't know why they'd want to do that because it's pretty cheap money.
Yeah.
But can they do that?
Yes,
Is there any-
there's
a
no
penalty or
prepayment,
anything?
no prepayment penalty. You can pay it off early. Because there's no interest payments for the first year, if you take the loan now and pay it off within a year, it's a free loan. Because there's no interest payments accumulated in the first year. It just starts 1 year from the date of disbursement. And yes, you can repay early without any payment penalty. So no cost to apply, no closing costs, and no prepayment penalty.
Yeah, and I know you don't have anything to do with it, but I just think that it's unfortunate that if you make a certain income, then you can't get this loan. And that seems so unfair.
Meaning below a certain income or?
Above.
No, not above. I mean, you could still get the loan. It's just the money, it is.
Interest rate's higher.
The interest rate's higher.
Oh.
Even the 5% or 8% is still below, what you're gonna get at a bank.
But still, that seems so unfair, and and I know you don't have anything to do with it, but this has been an eye-opener for us, for me, because people that are responsible and they have insurance, okay, so you have this pretty high deductible that you're talking about that you have to pay, and then the insurance company doesn't offer you near what the amount of damages are that you have. But then you get people that do not have any insurance and they get all kinds of things. And it has nothing to do with you, I'm just on my soapbox.
Yeah, no, it is prioritized to help people that need it the most to get back in their home again. We're trying to get people back in their homes, back in their business, back up and running. And I agree that, it is a little bit different depending upon your level of income. The vast majority of people, would get the 2.5% for the home or the small business, 4% for the business. But even the higher rate is better than you're gonna get elsewhere.
Yeah. Thank you, I appreciate it.
Yeah. Any other questions or? Yeah, I have another question.
So, but you're not an insurance company, that's right, you said it. But I want to say this. The insurance company tell you your loan, your profit is 50% gone. And they only allow you 50% of what it costs to recover. But they charge you 100% from day one. And 20 years later, they charge you that and more because every year it goes up.
No.
Use an insurance agent?
No, I'm not. And if I was, I wouldn't work in Florida.
Yeah.
Because, I was here for 7 months during Ian and Nicole and heard a lot of stories about insurance companies. So it's been a challenge.
I can tell you some stories too.
Yeah, you heard more than I have. Because I've delivered, but.
We're laughing, but we're crying.
Yeah, I understand.
We appreciate you doing that.
Yeah, I appreciate the time. And if you have any questions, you don't have my contact information. Happy to help out if you can have any
events for constituents or something to, let people know about what's available. I could even possibly get somebody from FEMA to come as well to try to answer all the questions. And of course, people can go to the Disaster Recovery Center in Steinhatchee or in one of the surrounding counties to get their questions answered as well, so.
I think the one thing, the one sale of this would be, it doesn't cost anything to apply.
Yes, no cost to apply. Apply now, decide later.
Go tell your constituents to go and find out whether they qualify and what they qualify for, if they're really in need.
Just do it by November the 29th.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. And there's one last point, that if somebody registers with FEMA, if they're at a certain income, because FEMA will help make sure the home is safe and secure to live in and provide rental assistance if the home's not safe to live in. But there's a limit on how much they will help. And if somebody registers with FEMA and they might get a letter from FEMA saying they've been referred to the SBA for a possible loan, that means their income level was enough that that they might not qualify for FEMA to help with personal property, like the contents of the home. So if someone gets one of those letters saying they've been referred, it's important for them to go ahead and apply for that loan, even if they don't want it, because if they apply and get denied after being referred to the SBA, then they might get referred back to FEMA for additional help. So that initial estimate of income, might not be accurate to show exactly what their situation is and repayment ability. So if someone does get that referral, they should go ahead and apply for the loan. It's free to do. They can easily decline it. But if they get offered, but if they get declined on the loan application, they can be referred back to FEMA for additional assistance for personal property damage. Okay. Thank you for your time,
sir. Board educational items.
Yes, LaWanda, we heard Mr. Wilson talk about the acoustics, so what are we doing?
We are working on our third quote now. I actually have an appointment in the morning, and when the first quote we got was substantially lower than the second quote. However, there was such a long lead time on getting the equipment that we wanted to explore some other avenues. But
So you don't know about how long it'll be?
Well, like I said, I'm hoping to have the third quote maybe this week, and then we can bring it back to the board.
Good, because I've long complained about it, and I've had other people to complain. I've seen people sitting out there doing this, so the sooner the better. One thing that I had a couple of my constituents to tell me is they had loaded up their debris and took it to the roll-off, and of course the roll-off attendant said, no, we can't take it, you need to take it and put it beside the road. And so the last person that called me, might have been yesterday, he said, I don't have any problem with that. He said, just, but you should make sure that the public knows that. So, obviously, is the calls that I've got, the number of calls that I've got, the people don't know that. So, I'm hoping our newspaper man maybe will put something in there.
Well, I know that y'all published at least 1 or 2 articles, with a graphic explaining how to store it on the side of the road, but that was some time ago.
Yeah, well, I know you were busy, but my constituents, some of them had called me and got to the roll-off and were turned away and had to take it back home, and they were told that they couldn't take it to put it beside the road. And the last one that called me said, that's okay, I don't have a problem with that. I just wish I'd known before I took it there. And he said, you probably need to communicate more with the public that don't take it there, put it beside the road, because the roll-off is not going to take it. And, and of course we, if they take it to, and I understand, but take it to the roll-off, we end up paying for it. And as of right now, if it's put by the road, it's not an extra cost to us.
So our first few stories, we specifically mentioned that in there. I don't know if we haven't really run a whole lot since, because it's basically just been happening. But we can do an update. I know Emergency Management, I think, put it out a couple times in their
on Everbridge, right.
Facebook page too. But next time we do a story, I'll make sure that we reiterate that.
Yeah, please. It just saves a lot of frustration on the part of people building up and taking it down, take it back home and unload it again. And, you know, I know we've discussed this before and I know in my district particularly where, you know, people have piled up their stuff on the right of way. You know, you and I have talked about this. And if you've hired somebody to come and pick all this stuff up out of your yard, and you've got so much, when you pile it up, you either have to go over onto the roadway, or it's gonna back up on your property, which then when they come along to pick it up, they're saying, well, I can't get that in the back because it's on private property. But people don't really have a choice, because if you're paying somebody to do it for you, and they can only stack it so high, and then it's gonna fall down anyway. So the people that are now stuck with that, what are we gonna do? How can we address this?
Well, so the last time I spoke with the contractor about this, he suggested that we just try to address it on a case-by-case basis.
Okay.
They will get what they can, but if it is obviously up next to a fence or on private property, their machinery will only reach so far. And it may have to be pushed out further into the right of way. And I know that's difficult for people. But they may have to push it back out into the right of way, so it will be.
So all these people aren't able to do that, but the whole thing is, can he drive his machine up to the property line and then use his arm to reach over there and get it?
He's got to keep it level on the road. They won't pull off the highway with the box trailer. They won't pull off the highway.
Oh.
And the boom knuckle won't reach but so far out of the box. So, I mean, they have a skid steer. I've seen them take a skid steer and push it up to the road out of people's yards. I have seen that. So I'm sure they'll get it sooner or later. You know, if you can see it from the road, they're gonna get it, I believe.
Yeah, I know people that
It can't be way off up there and a bunch of trees in the yard, no. But now, if it's out there in the ditch or adjacent to the ditch, they can get it, you know.
Yeah, well, that's what these people are saying, and I know some of these people, they can't afford to have somebody to come back and move it. You know, but I'll
send me addresses, and
I
think those particular, they did go out and say, well, we'll get most of it, but if it's obviously on private property, we can't enter private
They've
property.
got that thing he was talking about, that'll push it back out to the road.
Well, what they done, you know, just like by the airport fence there, you know, it was piled up on the fence. They went all the way to the fence and got it and drug it back out to the edge of the Puckett Road and loaded it. I saw that, and I saw it up from Johnson Stripping Road. They got all down in the ditch and on both sides of the ditch on private property and was pushing it up there close enough they could reach it, you know.
Yeah.
So they're working with the people best they can. You know, I'm seeing that.
They've been good about that.
They're doing a good job
Yeah,
of
I
what
think
they're
so
doing.
too.
You know,
Yeah.
the contractors, you know, but they can't get on private property knowing it's a bunch of, because they get out there and bust a water line or get into a septic tank drain field or something like that. That's the reason they don't want to take no chances of getting on private property, and I can't blame them.
Yeah, I just didn't realize they couldn't get on the right of way, but I see why.
Yeah.
That's all, thank you.
Yeah. Got two things. McKinley Maddox Road. That cable is 7 feet from the ground.
Which table?
Must be in there. It's not they're swinging it from, REA pole, a Tri-County pole. And they said somebody coming up from Orlando putting that cable back. And it's about 7 feet from the road. Only 7 feet high. They went down the other day with a truck, skid steer on the back of the trailer trying to get in there to clear their property. Had to take the skid steer off, drive it down the road. They could not get under the wire. Just as you turn the corner down from Wood Creek Road and
Kenneland Manitoba. I was out that day, you know what it's got on? It got yellow, it took them longer to put yellow tags on it, on the line because it was hanging low.
I'm not sure who the provider is, but we'll take a
Yeah,
look at
okay,
it.
all right, okay. Another thing, I got a call from ACLU man the other day. He wanted to know when we was gonna schedule a meeting on the.
Redistricting?
Yes. Look like we need to work about the first week in, first meeting in November. Something. Oh, we get sued, it don't make any difference to me how we do it. I think we got a plan out there, and if we go with it or reject it.
So do you wish for him to hear back before the
Yes.
board, the first meeting in November?
And invite the school board too. I think whatever we do is, I think what happened before, and I wasn't there, that the school board and the county went with the same plan, had the same lines. So, well, however the board feel, that's what we need to do. I don't want to see us in a lawsuit and it'll affect me and but I don't.
That's something we have to do. I didn't know if that was it.
We're under an order of the district court in Tallahassee, 1986 or something like that. And you're supposed to review this every 10 years, and the board hasn't done that. So what they're telling you is, what the ACLU fellow is telling you in a very nice way, do it, or we're gonna see you in court. It's a very nice way they said, they didn't say words to that effect, but you can read between the lines.
Now, I did talk with the Madison County Commissioner, and he said they went for whatever they presented, and that's what they went with, rather than trying to get a lawyer, engineer, and who else need to be involved, cost us money.
Oh, it can get very expensive, because if they sue you, guess what? They're gonna ask for attorney's fee.
My question would be if the individual commissioners have had adequate time to review the potential changes within your districts. Do you need more time to review that before we put it back on the agenda? Conrad, do you have any idea of the time frame that,
Well, no, I don't, and I think each commissioner needs to review so they can ask appropriate questions if in fact, Mr. Warren comes back. Because when he came first, they probably hadn't reviewed the things and didn't know what questions to ask, so I think that. What I would do is, I would say, my suggestion would be for you to get a hold of Mr. Warren and, tell him that your bosses are reviewing that, and he can make a suggestion of when does he think this is a good idea for him to come again to answer their questions. Put it on him. Y'all agree with that one?
The one that I did have something else with. An employee was telling me that I didn't tell him I was gonna do nothing about it, but he wanted me to listen. Said the day of the storm, his car was parked out of the complex over here off the 27th. That the wind blew a county sign and hit his car. I hit two cars. And he said the county told him they didn't have insurance for that.
Act of God. It's an act of God. It's an act of God.
The sign?
Blowing, the wind blowing.
Okay.
so if there are claims submitted for damages like that, our liability company makes a determination if the county is liable. And then they will determine if the claim should be paid or not paid. So the first step is to reach out to to Marcia and submit documentation so it can be forwarded to our liability company.
I think the liability company made a determination they wasn't there for the property. Okay. I'm bringing it to you. Brought it to me, and I'm bringing it to you.
That's fine.
So, it was our sign that hit it, right? It's the act of God. It was our sign that hit it. It was the county sign that hit the car.
Well, the type of
Do we know that
insurance.
for a fact?
I don't know, that's what he said.
DOT sign.
There's been no sign.
I think
Well, when it could've come over.
regardless, that what the insurance company does is tries to establish liability. And if we knowingly did not perform, some type of maintenance or something like that, and then it caused damage to someone's vehicle, that would show a different determination, I would think.
We gotta establish that, that actually happened.
Yeah, I ain't gonna say that, the man out there recording it. So. That's what he told me, and it still is. I told him I wouldn't bring it to the board. That's all.
Was it?
Yeah.
All right.
Are we still around 25% on the debris? Have we gotten a more
Well, I
recent?
think I cannot recall the percentage, but I know that we're at over 700,000 cubic yards of debris that has been picked up. And I believe the cost estimation for that is, and that would be for the county and the city, is around $11 million at this point.
It's not included from the waterway, just the boat
No.
side.
No. I have not received, DEP doesn't provide that information, but we may be at closer to 50% by now of just the first pass
For the roadway.
for the roadways, for the right of way.
But we don't have that kind of percentage for the waterway.
I do not. And I will say that we have not received, as of today, a determination from anyone regarding the private roads. So the advice I received today from our representative was to prepare a letter to bring to the board formally requesting that DOT fund the debris removal from our non-county maintained roads and list the reasons why. And we will continue requesting assistance. We also entered a mission through Department of Emergency Management because the thought of spending $11 million on debris removal is unfathomable at this point.
It'd be good to follow up on those, private roads because I just watched several this weekend in some private roads and there was nothing. And now it's just a pig trail and one vehicle passed through. Now these people come out here this weekend and, just stacked it in there for several hundred yards on these roads. And, it's gonna be a mess if somebody don't get it up.
Well, and I feel like the contractor will pick up debris on the road, and then within a few days, it seems like there was the same amount that was there before.
Well, it was like these folks just come in from up north and realized there was a start. It just went, it's massive.
I got people in my district that live on roads that it's not county maintained. But I told every one of them that called me, yes, you can put it there because we were told you could put it there and it would be picked up. So if it's not picked up, we're gonna have a mess on our hands because I told them.
I had told none of them to put it on their private. I told them to put it on their county right away. I hadn't heard any of them. I told them that I don't advise you to put it on a private roadway at this
But
time.
we were told that I was going by, I was going by what was told to us.
Because that's based upon the FEMA guidance of what can be reimbursable.
You got that in writing somewhere, all I can tell you, circle back to it.
Well, so the difference is, if you'll recall, our debris contractor that we initially have under contract, that was the guidance, and we asked several times, and that's the guidance. But what I'm afraid of is that DOT stance is that they will not enter, private roadways because they do not wish to set the precedent. So that's the latest discussion back and forth. And we are still pushing as hard as we can, because I don't want any of our citizens to not have the same opportunity when it comes to debris removal. So I don't think the question is whether it can be picked up, it's who's going to fund it. And that's what I'm concerned about.
All right, Commissioner, go ahead.
No, you got a mountain of debris, bring it on.
No, we got
No
that.
problem.
Have we heard back in respect to the debris removal from the waterways as far as the flood potential and navigation hazard?
No, I have not. I think they wanted to complete the debris removal in our navigable waterways before there was a discussion about non-navigable waterways.
Non-navigable waterways is gonna be an issue next time we have a big bunch of rain. Because all these creeks that come through Perry, trees in them just like that. And it's gonna be a mess. All them sloughs, all them oak trees, the roots are turned up, everything's just, it's gonna block Woods Creek, Rocky Creek, Spring Creek, Temple Creek, all of them's full of trees. And when that water, you get 10 or 12 inches of rain in that bay and it comes headed toward Perry, it's gonna flood all them neighborhoods all around Edgewater County. And up around East the same way. It's gonna be rough. Now, down 98, also, East they didn't get that much damage. The damage went out there on 98, it didn't get to the salt grade good, there's not trees, not blow down like there is in Perry and Norfolk Perry.
There is from Keaton Beach.
Well, I know what Keaton Beach is, and always a horseshoe is.
And that'll impact these other
Yeah.
waterways.
All them creeks down that way is gonna hold water too, it's gonna back up, it's gonna be rough. I was over on the Gina side the other day, and went by that, I think they call it, some rock creek that goes into the Stingahatchee River on the Gina side. It's just the trees, I looked down in it, just like that, it's blocked. And it's gonna back water up on the Gina side, and that's part of that Corps of Engineers study that's gonna be on all these creeks. That needs to be part of it. We need to make sure that they're aware of all that storm damage that's in these creeks that come in this way when they do their study up there. I talked to a gentleman that talked to somebody with the Corps of Engineers the other day, and he said it would be another year before we ever got anything done on that up there. The boss man over them all told him that. You wouldn't, it won't be this year, and probably in the next year, before they ever even look at all that up there, is what they told them. That's just hearsay, but the man told them that standing right out there on Ellison Road. So we look forward to that.
Looking forward to that.
It's coming, I can tell you. Anyway, that's all I can.
All right, well, I hear, we got a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second. All in favor?
Yes.
Line muted.
I'm gonna need to sign this. This is those, meetings for that value adjustment board
You are the
meeting.
last party in the conference.
Last week, last Monday, for James. Minutes for that. Yeah, we did some of that.